You're listening to Talk Star Wars, a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Hello there, and welcome back to Talk Star Wars, episode 160 from Emotionally 14. I'm Rob.
And I'm Brad.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
You good? I'm good. I'm ready to tease some MFNSW.
Good. Well, that's good.
One gagged and I left it up.
Well, you know, such is life.
Yeah. Professionals.
Yeah, it's fine. How have you been? Good?
I've been good. Yeah, much better. Thanks for everyone who put up with my General Grievous snotting and hacking.
Yes, well, I did a relatively good job of hacking around it.
You did an amazing job. It was listenable.
Thank you. Take good notes.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who's put up with my nasy, snotty hacking on both this and Fire When Ready the past couple of weeks. Yeah. I'm finally just about recovered.
Well, that's good. I'm sure people would be pleased to hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. How have you been?
Good. I've been quite happy with the fact we've had a couple of iTunes reviews, which is the first time in a while we've had that, which is nice.
Yeah.
You know, we've had, obviously, you know, the chart positions in places like Kazakhstan and Uganda are lovely, but it's nice to hear from listeners who, you know, take the time and write in, which is very much appreciated. So, we've got two. I don't know who the first one is from.
That's always best.
Yeah, they write their name as Gamorrean. Which, you know, that could be anybody.
Which is the time traveling car from Back to the Future.
That's the one. Yes, thank you. And it's made of ham, right?
Yes.
So the first one is from Gamorrean, United Kingdom.
Best place.
You know, it has its moments. And 5 stars, which is very kind, and reads, "Congratulations, you found the best Star Wars podcast. This is easily the best Star Wars podcast available. An easy listen with a well-informed approach. Keep up the good work. We plan to."
Short, to the point, and absolutely 100% correct.
Yeah, and very, very kind. So, yeah, we very much appreciate people taking the time to review, especially when they're going to be as kind as that. Now, obviously, it's nice when people, you know, constructive criticism is fine. It's perfectly lovely to receive that stuff because it helps us get better.
Absolutely.
But 5-star reviews, we got to admit we like them just that touch more. And not to be outdone, Gilb 000, who I believe is our good friend Matt Gilbert from the wonderful land of Australia, took the time to write in another 5-star review.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I know. This one reads, "The wholesome doggo of Star Wars podcasts." I think that's good. I'm not I'm not as meme savvy as people might believe, but I think a wholesome doggo is good.
I'm not as yeeting down with the kids as I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, but my understanding is that a wholesome doggo is a good doggo.
Good.
12 out of 10 would pet. I think that's something like that. Yeah. It just people are just listening going, wow, this guy really gets it. I'm sure. How do you do, fellow kids? It reads, "I've been listening to this podcast for some time now, and it's been fantastic. From their listener focus base, various discussions and guests, and bringing all the news they can. Then all of the extra content with roundtables and comic book talks. You'll be entertained for quite some time. Be great to see where the show goes in the future. Same as the Commonwealth in general. May the force be with you all, Matt." Well, Matt, thank you very much for that. It's very, very kind of you. And you're not wrong. The added value that the Roundtable and TSW comics bring cannot be overstated. And that's one of those things that patrons enjoy slightly earlier than the rest of the world. A week earlier.
For like no money a month, really.
It's $1. Yeah, it's hardly a thing. You know, it's barely a thing.
Listen out for how to join later on, kids.
Yes, indeed.
If you're not already.
Yeah, I mean, we've given you some clues by calling ourselves Talk Star Wars and mentioning Patreon. I mean, those two things will combine very well together with various search engines.
Yeah, come on, get on with it, Lestrade. You can work it out.
So there you go, guys. Gamorrean and Matt, thank you very much indeed for your 5-star reviews. It's nice to receive them. Like I say, it's been a little while since we've had one, and it's just they're nice to have. You know, they're lovely to. It's nice to know that we're doing something right, which is always good. So next, as is customary, we begin with our spoiler-free Resistance Roundup, which is courtesy of Knight of the Commonwealth, Aunt Vesuvi. And the Roundup reads, the penultimate episode of the introductory season of Star Wars Resistance is called No Escape, Part 1. Again, there isn't much I should tell you as not to spoil culminating plot points, but I will say you'll get to see what the usually mild-mannered 4D M1N is capable of in a pinch. Plus, Buggles is far more intelligent than his appearance would suggest. And since it was teased during the mid-season trailer, I think it's okay for me to reveal that we'll finally see the emotional scene in which Kaz and Tora eavesdrop on a HoloNet broadcast, during which Hosnian Prime and 4 other worlds in the system were transformed into pocket novae by the christening demonstration of Starkiller Base. For those who don't recall, I'll read that one again. Hosnian Prime, it's easy for me to say, isn't only the Senate's capital during this era, it's also the planet Kaz and his parents hail from. I know. I didn't realise that, but that's quite the revelation, it seems. Addendum. I refrained initially from mentioning the new variant of Trooper seen in the last episode because it didn't yet have a page on Wikipedia. But today they've been added. I'm pleased to introduce to you via this episode the First Order Scuba Trooper.
That's my favourite ABBA song.
Yeah, I like Scuba Trooper as well. I'm a big fan.
No, I've never been a huge fan of the various different branches of Stormtrooper.
Oh, I thought you were going to say ABBA songs themed on Star Wars.
I just like it. We now seem to be in a situation where Stormtrooper, just as an example, we're in a situation where Stormtroopers and Snowtroopers are completely different classes of branches of the military. And when I watched Empire, I used to think, well, they're just Stormtroopers with Arctic gear on.
Right.
Rather than being this whole other branch. And now there's Mud Troopers and do we need Shore Troopers?
The Shore Troopers are in Scarif, yeah.
Really, it just seems weird to me that it wouldn't just be one branch of the military with different gear.
Maybe that's kind of the Empire's downfall. You know, so much bureaucracy, they've got all these different branches.
Or maybe it's just we've got so many people we can do this.
Maybe, yeah. It's just we're not short of blokes. Let's just make use of it, mate.
I got Snowtrooper and Stormtrooper and Scout Trooper maybe are slightly more specialised, but I got Snowtrooper and Sandtrooper stuff as branding for the action figure side of things. But when it came to the lore side of things, that kind of seemed unnecessary to me. Just a minor bugbear in a franchise I love, that's all.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. It's odd that they specialise so much as to have... Yeah. But then I suppose you have, Air Force, Navy, a lot of them are soldiers, but they specialise in different things.
Yeah, but we have the army. We don't have the Arctic army and the desert army and the mountain range army.
We have the desert rats.
That's not how it works, but okay.
Okay, well, I mean, I suggest that if it's not the way it works, maybe they should rethink that name.
Yeah, maybe they should. Yeah. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, actually.
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll shut up.
Are you thinking of Tube Mice? The 90s cartoon TV show for kids about mice that lived on the underground.
Now you've said that, I think you're right, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. I may be wrong. I don't know.
I'm actually, now you've said that, I think I'm thinking about it the wrong way round.
Okay.
I was thinking 7th Armoured Division existed outside of the Desert Rats, but I think they took the name Desert Rats.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Right, gotcha.
I may be wrong. What do I know about the Second World War?
To be fair, I mean, this is not a Second World War podcast, so we're good there.
No, I just should know more than I do.
Well, shouldn't we all? So Vesuvi went on to...
I've not written a book in the desert yet. Leave me alone.
It's true. When can we look forward to that?
Soon, apparently, because apparently I've got stuff to learn.
Oh, right, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, is that how you get around it, by doing that at the same time?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Nice. It's a good way of doing it. It's good an excuse as any to read it. So Vesuvi went on to write some more about last week's episode. And Vesuvi writes, "Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Brad. Glad you're feeling better.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Broom Girl. Thanks, Alexa."
Oh.
And I think I'm safe. I'm glad to hear Anthony, so that didn't really work over radio. Oh, well,
yeah, that's fine.
Has come around on The Last Jedi and is looking forward to episode 9. Welcome back, Diecast Desperado. I'm thrilled that you enjoyed Descent. I hope you'll enjoy No Escape Part 1 just as much, if not more.
That's nice of her.
Yeah. It was nice also to hear from Denver Derek and his take on the Holder maneuver. Vive la subjectivité.
Which is French for good old subjects.
Sure. Since one of the commentators mentioned Birth of a Monster, I'd like to add my endorsement for that as well. I'm not generally interested in fan films, but I appreciated the efforts in this one. Fluffing a pillow for Mark's momentary post-9 teaser return, Vesuvi, Night of the Commonwealth. So yeah, as I mentioned last week, when we get some episode 9 stuff, you know, Mark you've already established Mark will come back to do those episodes. So, you know, it's just a matter of time. Lucasfilm hold all the cards. I have no sway over this. I wish I did. However, Vesuvi, thank you for your messages, as always. And it's lovely to see you, you know, encouraging others to enjoy things. And
yes,
yeah, it's great. I really like that.
We need more enjoying.
Yeah, more enjoying is good in the world.
I don't know where that's going.
No, it's fine. Do you know what? I started saying it, and I just thought, you know what? That's good. I'll just leave that.
Yeah,
I'll have that. It's just hanging in the air. I'll take it. Our next message. So this is going to be a bit confusing because we've got a couple of messages from people with very similar surnames. So our first message has come from Mark Ayres. Keep that one in mind. So, great shows over the New Year period, guys. Love the fact that weekly you continue to produce fan-rich content when we've had so little announced from Lucasfilm to get excited about. Bravo. I've been busy with family commitments lately, so my Star Wars reading has slowed to a standstill. But I've been educating myself with the Clone Wars animated series, and I'm loving how they covered the time between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Some great stories and character building that needed telling, and I'm wondering if you think they may in the future fill the gap between Return of the Jedi and A New Hope with a similar animated series. That's a good question. Maybe we'll come back to it. I'm going to catch up with the Rebels series next. I'm hoping for something along the same lines.
Sorry, a gap between Return of the Jedi and A New Hope?
I think he's flipped those around. I think A New Hope and Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, okay, cool. Sorry. It just threw me for a minute there because I'm quite stupid.
I'm going to catch up with the Rebels series next. I'm hoping for something along the same lines. On another subject, I took your advice, Rob, and picked up the audiobook, The Secret Life of Star Wars. And I'm a little miffed to find out many of the myths I've held as true are not so concrete, such as the fact that Vader wasn't written in as Luke's dad until the last rewrite of Empire Strikes Back, and Han nearly didn't make it into Return of the Jedi. They rocked my world. I'm yet to finish the book, and frankly, I'm a little dubious that I may find out something else I was happier not knowing. Anyway, keep up the good work, guys. May the Force be with us all. So with regards to that audiobook, I think if you've got to the part where you find out about Han not necessarily being back for Return of the Jedi, I think after that point, you're golden. But obviously, I'm sure we'll find out. I think it's...
Okay.
Yeah. Think it's
something
fine.
Occurred to me sort of along those lines the other day, actually.
Shoot.
If I run this by... my daughter was watching Empire Strikes Back, and it got to the No, There Is Another scene, and it got me thinking... we're all ready to admit that George Lucas was making stuff up as he went along.
Yep.
I don't believe he thought Darth Vader was Luke's father at the time A New Hope was released, or certainly not during the creation of A New Hope. That's fine.
Yeah.
Stories evolve. Perfectly prominent way of doing it. No, I'm not criticising him for doing so. However, I would extend that and say I don't believe he had the idea of Luke and Leia being brother and sister until he got to Jedi.
I agree. Yep.
So who was Yoda talking about when he said No, There Is Another?
My understanding of this, now I may be kind of attributing more to this.
I mean, just to clarify, obviously now we know it is retcon to be Leia, but I'm wondering at the time.
What was the original plan?
Yeah. Or was he just being vague for the sake of being vague?
My understanding is that originally there was a plan. It was basically a kind of... It was a way... Well, one of two things springs to mind. Either it was a way for Lucas to spin off more stories if he wanted, or there was another person who was completely unrelated to the Skywalker line, who was just a Force sensitive who existed, who might come in as a kind of Deus Ex Machina in the third film.
Yeah.
That's my recollection. I think it's covered in Secret History of Star Wars.
Yeah, that's on my Audible wish list.
It's good.
I'm doing Wheel of Time at the moment, and those books are 40 hours each.
Yeah, that takes a while. I'm working my way through a rather large reference book at the moment, and I'm still 5 hours from the end and feeling like, wow, this could really go on for some time even now. So it's really just quite
long audiobooks
involved.
are fun as well, aren't they?
They are.
You know you're in for such a long time. It's a real.
Indeed.
I enjoy long books generally.
It's nice to do every now and then. I don't think I could do them all. You know, I couldn't just subsist on exclusively epic ones because I would just lose the will to live over time, I think. But yeah, every now and then it's nice. And this, let's say, once I finish this book, I will probably go for a couple of short and sharp ones just to cleanse my palate a bit because it's been quite involved.
Yeah, and understandable.
Yeah. So, Mark, thank you very much for your email. And pleased to hear that you're finding Star Wars to fill your time when you're not able to do the reading so much.
Yep.
Do you see there being a possible animated series in the original trilogy era?
Yes, I really hope so, because that era has always been my favourite era for telling stories. I think the comic series running through it have been absolutely brilliant so far. So I'm always going to be up for more Galactic Civil War era stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I really hope so.
So 2 questions then. First, not so much when. Obviously, we've established when. Where would you set it in? Would you set it along the existing characters? Would you tell separate stories that kind of interconnect, like Resistance is?
I don't know. I'm wary of bloating their stories too much. So I think the comics and some of the novels are doing a very good job of filling out their stories. The whole idea of giving them it's just like the other franchise, Star Trek. I mean, really, if you take just for Kirk stuff, if you take the TV series and the animated series and the comics and the novels, even Star Trek fans admit there's more there than could conceivably be done in a 5-year mission. And if you just enjoy the stories for the sake of it, then that's great. That's what they're for. But Star Wars adheres to a timeline much more than Star Trek does. And so I would be wary of bloating that period too much by just focusing on the same characters again and again. Rebels did a great job with an entirely new cast of characters who became fan favourites very quickly.
Yeah, indeed.
Clone Wars introduced so many great characters. Comics have already given us 000 and Dr. Aphra and the duplicitous politician woman whose name escapes me at the moment will come back in a moment.
Yep.
Turin, something Turin, and they are giving us new great characters. It's remember, it's not a long time ago in a war far, far away. It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. There's lots of scope for new locations and new characters.
100%.
In that time frame. There's loads of stuff that they could do, but I would be wary of just going over the same ground.
Yeah, I get what you
mean.
Too
much. Yeah. I think the comics and the books are doing a great job
with the mainline characters,
with our core characters.
Yeah,
and hopefully the Mandalorian is going to set a precedent, and we're going to start seeing
that'd be cool.
More characters and more stuff. Yeah,
yeah. I totally get what you mean.
Yeah.
And then
I did a bit of as I normally do. I sometimes I popped off and did a bit of research. The 7th Armoured Division was originally formed in Egypt in the 1940s, and because it was so effective in the North Africa campaign, it was given the nickname the Desert Rats.
Yeah.
After that, it moved to Italy, and it fought in the aftermath of D-Day as well. So although it was no longer still part of or specifically trained to operate in the desert due to the honour associated with the history, the 7th Armoured Division still goes by the nickname Desert Rat.
Okay, so it was true, and now it's no longer true.
Yeah, it was true, but they started in the desert and then went off elsewhere. But because of the provenance associated with that brigade, they still go by the nickname Desert Rats.
So neither of us is wrong then. That's kind of nice.
No, neither of us was wrong. I knew what I was trying to say, and I did a very bad job of trying to explain it. Yeah, I'm glad Wikipedia is on hand to help me.
There you go.
Process my.
Ultimately, everybody wins.
Hoodoo thoughts.
Yeah, everybody wins because neither of us managed. We both managed to get something kind of half right, which is better than both of us getting it completely wrong. And everybody learns a bit.
Everybody learns a bit. Sometimes we just do talk wars.
Yeah, I mean, clearly this is kind of how this episode has ended up going. But
yeah, we'll try and talk some stars later.
I had a second. Well, yeah. I mean, if we get to that question, then we might well do. I had a second question, and it's completely. I wonder if we just ended up covering it organically, to be honest, because I had two questions.
You were asking me about
the series,
the animated series,
yeah. But then
what's your thoughts on it?
I'm with you. I think it would be nice to see different stories told. Maybe have them interweave, like they've had Rebels, they've had Lando turn up, they've had Leia turn up. Sometimes it's ham-fisted, but it happens. Yeah. In the same way with Resistance, Poe Dameron's been a fixture, Leia's turned up. There's plenty there to kind of satisfy those who are looking for star power, as it were.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're telling stories about fresh new characters. So, everybody wins in that respect.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I think that's the best. I agree. I think that's the best way to tell stories in that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In terms of, I suppose you could ask when in the timeline you would set it, because like you say, there's a finite sort of time frame between New Hope and Jedi. You're talking, 2.5 years? Oh, is it 4 years?
It's 3 years between A New Hope and Empire.
Okay.
And it's 12 to 18 months between Empire and Jedi.
So it is. Okay, cool. So you're talking 4 years, 4 and a bit years.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, like you say, the core characters are kind of, we can account for their whereabouts pretty comfortably. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to almost invariably look at outside, further afield, to kind of get to get some sort of sustenance out of the storyline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Mark. Hopefully that answers your question. We look forward to your reply when next you check in, which, always...
Hopefully be soon.
Yeah, sooner rather than later is always nice.
And give us a 5-star review while you're at it.
Why not, right? You know, we'd very much appreciate it. It might have been him. Who knows?
It might be him.
Yeah,
it might be you.
Might well have been. So our next message comes from, as I mentioned, somebody with a similar surname, Mark Airy, who will no doubt be familiar to, the name will be familiar to long-time Talk Star Wars listeners.
Okay.
So Mark writes, hello there again.
Hello there.
I thought I'd get back in touch. And yes, I'm back. If you missed my Toy Box podcast, tell the people in charge. If not, or you're thinking, what Toy Box? Well, tough. Couple of points from this week's podcast.
Last week's.
Well, yeah. Vinyl is the best. So that's my typo, not his. Vinyl is the best way to listen to the soundtracks. I have the lot, even the storybooks. It's the future. Or is it the past? Second point, regarding your dislike of the humor in The Last Jedi. Star Wars has always been humorous. If anything, Marvel copied Star Wars in the first place. But on a practical level, the First Order, and Hux in particular, wouldn't be used to humor. Everything is serious in their world. The scenes show that the Resistance have humor and can be serious when needed. See? Okay, that's it for now. Hope to talk again soon. Mark. What do you make of that? The notion, well, I mean, not the notion that Star Wars has always been humorous.
I absolutely agree that vinyl's the most accurate high-fidelity audio format.
All right, fine.
Yeah,
fair.
But the second point is what you're really asking me about.
Kind of,
it wasn't actually until I went to see the special edition re-release in '97 I actually realised how funny the Star Wars movies were.
Oh, they can be,
because
sure.
I think I just watched them so much as a kid it stopped being funny to me. And then when I went to see A New Hope in the cinema and it was stuff like stuff for droids were doing and people in the audience were laughing at it, I was like, okay, yeah, it is funny. I just never
thought of it that way.
Thought of it that way before. Yeah. I had no problem with humour or stuff. Any humour or jokes in Star Wars, and there's some humour in The Last Jedi that I really like. And to be honest, it's just that interplay between Poe and Hux I wasn't a fan of. It just didn't land for me. That's all. There's some great humour in Star Wars, there's some great humour in The Last Jedi, but that particular scene, it just didn't work for me. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. There's some bits that really gel for me, like, for instance, Luke and Rey, and he's sort of waving the leaf over her hand going, that's the Force. Can you feel it? That's the Force. And she's, getting into it, and then he just smacks her on the hand.
It was for caretakers, got me.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's almost like a British fast level of like no selling. Brilliant.
It's just the initial kind of. Have you seen Tropic Thunder?
I have not. I really want to. I haven't got around to it.
I don't want to say too much because it really loses something if I explain it too thoroughly. But there's a bit in Tropic Thunder that's exactly like that, where it's this kind of a moment happens and it takes you a few seconds to process what's just happened.
Okay.
And as you're doing it, when I watched it in the cinema, I was sat there with people and the moment happened and it was this kind of slow wave of amusement as it kind of dawned on different people at different speeds what had just occurred.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's that kind of, that caretaker stuff for me is kind of that. My contention with the humor in The Last Jedi is at the beginning, there's just way too much of it. And it's so, the humor in the original Star Wars for me, I mean, this may just be a kind of, I don't think it's nostalgia talking so much, but it may be that it's my, it being my first trilogy. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's way more subtle. It's, it's a look from Han. It's one finger in the air. Mm-hmm. That sort of thing is the stuff that makes me laugh in Star Wars. Whereas Last Jedi, I feel like in Last Jedi, maybe even to an extent, Force Awakens, if that scene had happened in Last Jedi, say, he would have done that point and then C-3PO going, "What are you pointing at me for? What's that? Why are you pointing? What's the point for?" It doesn't seem to take. It almost doesn't give the audience enough credit that they're going to get it unless they point it out.
Yeah, I agree that the humour in the original trilogy is much more subtle. And it is, a lot of it is Han, to be honest.
Yes.
Totally. He's brilliant. He's having a problem with your droid. No trouble. Why?
Yeah. He's carrying a bag full of bits.
Yeah. The humour in the prequel trilogy is much more toilet humour. It's stuff like an EP farting in Jar Jar Binks' face is the level of humour in the prequel trilogy.
And to be clear, I'm not a fan of the humour in Phantom Menace skews a little bit less subtle for me as well.
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, a little bit better. Like Attack of the Clones.
You've obviously forgotten C-3PO and Attack of the Clones. Then.
Oh, that bit. Yeah, okay. Apart from that bit. Yeah, I do have to.
It's just like watching Groucho Marx get massacred in a car horn and slide whistle factory.
It's basically, it's like awful. Watching Groucho Marx get full on drop kicked. Just, he's just standing there, minding his own business, just maybe a couple of zingers, and you just see somebody. It's like Groucho Marx is at the end of one football field. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking American football for the purposes of visual illustration. And you have to watch somebody slowly run from one end of the pitch to the other with the commentators going, he's going to drop kick him. He's going to drop kick him. He's going to drop kick him. And then he drop kicks him.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I don't mean somebody drops Groucho Marx on his foot. I mean wrestling style drop kick.
Revenge of the Sith is pretty sparse on humour, to be honest. Well, certainly as the film goes on, there's a nice bit of interplay between Obi-Wan and Anakin quite early on.
Yes.
I guess.
Especially in the deleted scenes.
But, the latter half of that film doesn't really need humour.
No. Especially, I don't think the massacre of the younglings would be improved with a slide whistle.
No.
Okay, maybe I spoke too soon.
A melodica, maybe.
Now we're talking.
The Force Awakens, the humour was much more returned to the original trilogy.
Yeah.
But I do get what you mean about the Force. I mean, Force Awakens is lacking in subtlety in general, but we've kind of done that to death, haven't we?
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, like I said, there's lots of humour in Last Jedi I thought was great. It was just that exchange. Okay, it's absolutely fair for Mark to say that the humour of Star Wars influenced Marvel. I would agree with that. Yeah. But for me, in that scene, the reverse was very obvious. It was very obvious that scene had in turn been influenced by Marvel.
Yeah, and not good Marvel either.
That's absolutely fine. I encourage the franchises to influence and support each other.
Yeah.
As they always will. Same as Star Trek and Star Wars have always influenced and bounced off each other. That's always going to happen because Realistically, the Venn diagram of both the fans and the creators is closer to a circle than it is two separate circles.
And same with Marvel and DC to a degree, right?
Absolutely, it really is. It's to me the Marvel DC thing, the Star Trek, Star Wars thing. It's like the movie fanboys. It's fun to joke about and have a little kind of playful ribbing, but there's no actual rivalry in any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got nothing apart from that. Just that one scene didn't land for me particularly, and I've got nothing else to add really.
So for me, there's a couple more that don't quite work. Luke milking the Thalasiren. It was fine, but it went on a bit long for me.
It was the awkward eye contact, wasn't
it? Yeah. No, actually, kind of. You mean the Thalasiren looking at Rey?
Yeah.
No, I thought that was the funniest bit.
Oh, okay, fine.
But it was the fact. Well, I mean, the fact that it existed at all kind of made me a bit like, yeah, really, do we need this? But okay. Well, hopefully I'm sure they'll make up for it by telling some really cool stuff. And this one, I don't necessarily. It doesn't bother me to the degree I know it bothers some people, but it does bother me to a point. Is the Luke tossing the lightsaber over his shoulder? It was just. There are ways to say I'm going to subvert your expectations for the next 2.5 hours without being so, again, just like this kind of ham-fisted blatantness to it.
Yeah.
It's hard to, for me, it's hard to defend that one. It just seems like unnecessarily, combative's the wrong word.
And it kind of Flash Gordon's the ending of Force Awakens as well.
In what sense?
The old, I'm talking like the old Buster Crab, Flash Gordon TV shows, not even TV shows. You go to Saturday Morning Pictures stuff. They were terrible for recutting cliffhangers,
right?
In the sense of like it would be at the end of one episode, you'd see Flash Gordon running across and he'd go to jump across a chasm and he'd miss it and he'd plummet to his death and you'd see a huge to be continued. Yeah. And then when they do the recap on the next episode, he'd run and he'd just managed to catch on to the edge.
He's fine. He's all right, folks.
The reaction Luke gives at the end of Force Awakens does not sync up with the reaction Luke gives at the start of The Last Jedi.
No, and that's it, isn't it? It's like it's set up one way, which is there's a look of something on there. There's loads of different theories bandied about. We kind of back in the day on TSW we talked about it being like a look of, he's been found and he's kind of he knows that he can't escape the fight no matter how hard he tries. There's a lot of ways that look can be interpreted. What I don't think is, from the original ending, I don't think you can interpret is not this crap again. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't, at no point does that kind of, ugh.
Yeah, that's not in there.
No, it's not. It's a really, that's an impossible one for me to justify because it's just not there to see. So that doesn't quite land for me. And I understand why. People are bothered about that one. Like I said, it doesn't ruin the movie for me, but it does kind of, I think for a lot of people that set them on the defensive's the wrong word, but it put them on the back foot of like, wait a minute, I'm not sure if I'm going to and it kind of, I keep saying combative's the wrong word, but it does almost kind of pit itself.
I think that's the right word.
It pits itself against the audience of like, you're not going to, you're not going to like this. You didn't like that. You're not going to like this. And it just seems a little bit, over the top in terms of, again, I keep coming back to it, and I've talked about this since the movie itself came out. It's this lack of subtlety. It's not, everything has to be so ham-fisted. Nothing can be left to the imagination. Nothing can be left to speculation. Everything has to be over the top. And like, did you catch it? Did you see that? Did you miss it? I bet you didn't miss it because we made a big thing of it. What's that you say?
I mean, you say that, but one of my complaints about the prequel trilogy is the lack of information we're given about it.
Oh, in terms of information about the wider universe, yeah, you're absolutely right. But in terms of what's happening in the film, there's no subtlety for me at all. No, it's
sorry, I misunderstood you.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
but there you go, Mark. So there's our take.
I can't believe I'm talking about Last Jedi again.
It's all right. There is another message about it, but this is more.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah. It's just a message about it. It's not like there's no question that we have to talk about it any further than this. We'll read it and then we can move on. Yeah. So this comes from Stephen at Roku Depot. For those
I've heard of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stephen very kindly gives us his thoughts on the episode every week. So that's always nice that he does that for us. It's very kind.
Yeah.
Stephen took the time to write some quite lengthy thoughts on The Last Jedi after our discussion last week and the week before and the week before that. So Stephen writes, when The Last Jedi came out, I saw it 5 times in theatres. I loved it. When it came out for home release, I picked up the Blu-ray and watched it some more. Still loved it. Then I waited. I saw Solo, seasons came and went, and a new year rolled around. In January, I broke out The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and watched both of them again for the first time in a long while. I forgot.
6 months.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in internet world, that's an eternity.
That's true, yeah.
That's an ice age in internet world.
Yeah, that's true. It's a long time for me to go without watching a Star Wars movie, to be fair.
Yeah, there you go, see? So I'd forgotten how much I loved The Force Awakens and fell in love with that movie all over again. But The Last Jedi, we had a falling out. For some reason, I watched it with new eyes, and all I could see were the flaws. From beginning to end, I just couldn't lose myself in the movie and enjoy it. I kept seeing flaws, and more flaws. Mm-hmm. All those podcasts I'd listened to, all those complaints I'd heard people make, all those justifications and explanations, it all finally made sense, and I saw what they meant. I haven't tried watching it again to see if maybe I might reverse my opinion again, but it has made me see the movie in a new light, a much harsher, more critical light. And it's interesting listening to podcasts now and siding with those who have criticism for the movie rather than those who are still defending it. I, too, was once a defender. And I say it's defender as if it's a faction, although, on Twitter. In my new jaded sphere of reality with The Last Jedi, I've heard some very good observations on some of the bigger flaws of the film. For instance, up until then, the Skywalker legacy was one of redemption. Anakin fell, Luke redeemed him, and through the redeemed Anakin, the Empire was overthrown. But with The Last Jedi, the legacy of the Skywalkers is now a failure. The failure of Anakin in his fall to the dark side and wiping out the Jedi. The failure of Luke in defeating the Empire, only to let it return in the guise of the First Order. The failure of Luke to train a new Jedi Order. The failure of Luke in his training of Kylo Ren, which leads to Han's death, the destruction of Hosnian Prime, and nearly getting the entire Resistance wiped out. Not to mention failing to help Rey when she needed it. Failure is a big theme in The Last Jedi. And Luke's return on Crate is now in no way made up for the legacy of failure laid on his feet by Rian Johnson. Of course, this might get fixed in Episode 9, where we see the story in its full context. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt there. The other biggie...
I love when people say that. Like, Episode 9 is going to open up with Finn going, I had the strangest dream while I was in the back
I don't think they're going to go down the Dallas ending.
But you know what? If they did... I don't know how many people would be annoyed.
I don't know. Dooku Does Dallas, I think, is a very different movie. The other biggie is Luke's lack of compassion in The Last Jedi. The Lords of the Sith podcast pointed this one out, and it's something I hadn't been able to put a precise finger on. In Return of the Jedi, the big end accomplishment is Luke's compassion. It defies all common sense and the orders of Obi-Wan and Yoda. Everyone wants Luke to kill Darth Vader except Luke. He wants to save his father, and he does through compassion. His compassion is so strong that he's able to break through his father's hatred and guilt and cause him to stand up and defy the Emperor, thus saving the galaxy. But in The Last Jedi, Luke has no compassion. When Rey shows up, he's cold, rude, and mean. It takes a long time before he explains himself, and even then he lies about it before telling the whole truth. For whatever reason, Rian Johnson stripped Luke of his most defining characteristic. And to underline the issue, he tries to give the audience what they want with Luke's reappearance at the Battle of Crate, but it's not enough to justify all his actions before that in the film. At least that's my feeling on the matter. Well, have fun with that one and keep up the great work on the show. Stephen, a.k.a. Skuldrin, Roku Depot. Well, that was...
Wow, there's a lot there.
Absolutely, yeah. And
which is great. I love it when people go on rants.
Yeah, indeed.
Fuels me.
I've had these feelings about this film since more or less after it came out. Mm-hmm. And like I say, I used to, I understand where Steve is coming from, because there was a period where I felt like I was on my own. in my feeling. I felt like I was the only, I didn't feel like I was the only person in the world who felt that way, but I felt like I was always fighting uphill with everyone around me. They just got something out of it that I couldn't get out of it, try as I might. But, it's interesting to see that over time, people's opinions have shifted, and they've kind of, they've come around a little more to my way of thinking. Although I do, not to the complete degree, but at the same time, I'm not going to, I ultimately don't say these things to win people over. I just say them because that's how I feel. And if people agree, and if I can put, a voice, if I can be a kind of a voice of somebody who's struggling to articulate their problem with something, then fine. I'm good with that. If somebody listens and says I still don't agree, that's also fine. I'm I'm a fully grown adult, but despite the name of the website. But there you go, Stephen. I am in a way sorry to hear that you're having this kind of crisis. Is a strong way of putting it, but you're having this kind of it's not nice to hear that people are having these kind of massive changes of heart on things that they previously loved.
I do think 10 years from now, we'll either be talking about Last Jedi as a movie that completely changed Star Wars, or we'll be talking about this weird kind of blip.
Yeah, will it be the exception to the rule, or will it be, the reinvention? I don't know is the answer. I know what people think it's going to be. I know there's a real kind of desperation to kind of make it this all-powerful force of pop culture. I don't think it has the legs. And I don't think it's a fault of the film. I think it's a fault of the way pop culture works now. It's the... it's the best analogy I can give is Saturday Night Live. If they were to wait 2 months after Stranger Things came out before they did the Stranger Things sketch, I feel like 2 months would be enough for it to have lost all relevance, because people would have moved on to the next big Netflix show you must see now, because 37 different media outlets who might,
Life's fast at the moment, yeah.
Yeah, it is, and like I say, with the internet age kind of being what it is, I think it's only going to continue at that pace, if not get faster.
Do you think that's why we don't get spoof movies anymore?
I don't know. I wonder if part of the reason we don't get spoof movies anymore is because they all became kind of mean-spirited and crappy.
Yeah, I also wonder if it is just stuff like College Humor turns them out much quicker.
Maybe, yeah. It could be. It could well be that. And
I mean, in fairness, like Zucker and Abrams and Mel Brooks, they're all getting on.
They are.
They don't owe us a movie.
No, of course.
I mean, there's another 488 Wayans out there could be doing a
they are movie. They are a prolific bunch as well, those Wayans. Them Wayans.
But there aren't scary movies anymore. There aren't X-movie movies anymore.
Well, I wonder if the X movies are the ones that killed it, because they were, they were really just spamming them out at a rate
They were a bit of a grindhouse production.
And they weren't good. They weren't good.
I've never seen one. I've never, apart from Scary Movie, I've had no real interest in
those. The first, I'd say probably the first three were kind of fun, and then they got progressively worse, I think.
The first one I rewatched a couple of years ago, and while I enjoyed it, it was nostalgia value. It hadn't really dated very well.
No, a lot of them haven't.
The second one is solid, but it had the misfortune of being based on The Haunting, which was a movie which bombed and not a lot of people saw.
Yeah, this is another thing as well.
Scary Movie 3, we brought in Abrams and Charlie Sheen and Leslie Nielsen, was amazing.
What's not to like? Yeah,
it's brilliant.
Winning.
Yeah.
But in terms of, I remember I watched Superhero Movie, and I thought Superhero Movie was quite good. But I wonder also, maybe one of the reasons you don't hear so much about spoof movies is because there's they try and do too, like, especially the X movie ones were like disaster movie and date movie and all that. I think they just tried to spoof too many films in one go. And so, whereas Superhero Movie, Scary Movie 2, they all have
one or two.
They only have they all have an underlying theme, which is one movie. And then they work in references to other stuff alongside it. But it's the core is Superhero Movie as a core is a Spider-Man spoof. Scary Movie at its core is a Scream spoof. And, then they kind of extrapolate on top of that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's it. Maybe they've just kind of it's the speed at which pop culture moves. Maybe you can't. Maybe they don't feel like. I think they
time
could.
Frame, yeah.
Maybe they don't think they got time to. I don't think they give the audience enough credit sometimes. Now, granted, I realise that the Transformers movies have done very well, so you'd be forgiven for thinking that audiences maybe have just lost the plot. But
has Bumblebee been and gone already?
Bumblebee has been and gone. Apparently, it's very good. I don't know. It didn't seem to light the world on fire, which for a giant robot is probably a plus. But
was it Haley Steinfeld was in that?
Yes, and John Cena.
Yeah.
Although I don't remember.
I'm glad Haley Steinfeld was in it because I haven't seen her in a movie for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, well, I think actors go through that, don't they? When they're sort of the hot thing, they turn up in loads of stuff.
I seem to see her every 2-3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, I think then they go quiet for 18 months and then suddenly they're in 2 or 3 again. Like Benedict Cumberbatch went through a phase of that where he was in loads of stuff and then suddenly nothing for ages and then loads of stuff again. Like I get the feeling there. I suppose, it's not a feeling, this happens. They film movies and then they go and they film more movies and the movies get put into production in other ways and they get released at different times.
I think it's sometimes it is coincidental like that. Like some of these actors are just jobbing actors working all the time. Sure. And then it's kind of coincidence and then they all sync up. But then I wonder if it changed a little bit as well. Did Sam Worthington do really well in Clash of the Titans? So they got Terminator Salvation. All right, we were going to say Batman's the main star of it, but maybe push for Sam Worthington's in it.
Yeah,
and then Avatar.
Let's float the old breakdown on set thing and see if that helps the Batman star power. That bad, eh? All right, Worthington it is then. To shreds, you say. But
I mean, not that it's hurt his career, but
no, definitely not. I mean,
Christian Bale's done fine. I don't know what happened to the lighting tech.
No, indeed. I think I'm assuming he never went on to work again.
No, fair enough.
I don't know. Christian Bale certainly has found work, and he was Academy Award nominee again this year. So he seems to be doing just fine, and seems to be doing a very good job of his job. So no big surprise there because Christian Bale is fantastic.
He is.
So how did we get here?
We got here from. We conveyexed a little bit. We got here from...
We're talking about The Last Jedi and talking about
spoof movies. How did we get here from spoof movies?
I'm not sure, but we got here from...
you were talking about Saturday Night Live and rapid production.
Rapid production and rapid pop culture awareness. Now, we've talked about this before, I know, because I remember the discussion vaguely. But I think nowadays there's so much stuff, just sheer volume of media to kind of enjoy, and that's great because choice is good, right?
Absolutely.
But it does mean the market is very, very saturated, and there is a finite amount of attention and a finite amount. Time is the one resource you have a finite amount of, and you don't know how much you have, and it's harder to, it's probably it's the hardest thing to manage in terms of seeing everything you want to see. I mean, it took me how long to see Stranger Things, the first series? Ages.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I didn't have Netflix. It made it harder at the time. But
that does hurt.
It helps. It does reduce it very, very low. But, there's nothing to stop me getting Netflix again at the time, and I didn't. But generally, I think, there's so much stuff to choose from that everything just kind of comes and goes because you're already thinking about the next big thing. There was, I mean, how many movies that were being billed as blockbusters were coming out that come out over Christmas every year? This year it was Mary Poppins, Aquaman, and was it Mortal Engines around Christmas or just before?
That was around that time.
Yeah. So, these are all movies that are being billed as massive blockbusters. I know Mortal Engines, I think the hope was that would kind of be the beginning of maybe a new franchise in movie terms. It still might be, but there's all this stuff to kind of to occupy your time, and I just don't know whether or not franchises are capable of retaining people's attention as much anymore. I just don't think I think the world is...
No, I think you're right. I think if they are... I don't know we're going to get a single release that resonates anymore. What we will get, certainly for the foreseeable, is franchises kind of reinventing themselves and rebooting themselves, which Star Trek has done very successfully.
Yes.
And there's another Star Trek spin-off in the works already with
indeed.
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
I've brought up Star Trek twice on a Star Wars podcast.
It's okay.
I think I've killed myself now.
It's okay. There's no real rivalry. We've been through this. We established this a minute ago.
Yeah. And obviously Star Wars has rebooted it, so Force Awakens was a reboot.
Yeah.
And Marvel is kind of now very cleverly self-perpetuating.
Actually, on that point, just really quick, somebody pointed something out today about the Avengers Endgame trailer. Did you see the one that dropped today?
I did, yes.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. You know,
it was fine, yeah.
What's interesting is how little it told you about anything.
It didn't need to.
And yeah, exactly. Marvel has got to the point where they don't need to, and people are still going, what an amazing trailer, even though there's nothing there. I
think it helped that the last one was such a cliffhanger.
Maybe, yeah.
So people have been waiting. So I think for the more casual fan, that may just have been a reminder of, we never found out. We're going to find out what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a very well put together trailer with we all knew Captain Marvel was going to turn up in the trailer at some point. There's no spoilers at all. It was, and it's like I said, but didn't need to.
No, totally. This is it. As one, somebody pointed that out on Twitter today, and I was sitting there thinking, oh yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't really considered that.
Yeah, it's almost like they don't need to give us a title for episode or trailer for episode 9.
Well, no, I think the rumor doing the rounds is very heavily that, and it makes perfect sense. This rumor that it will be at Celebration, and it's got episode 9.
I'm
has
still kind of hoping they're not going to.
Episode 9
just
has its own panel.
No poster, no trailer, no title. Just you've got to go to the cinema.
You'll see it anyway.
Yeah. If they just called it that, how great would that be? Star Wars Episode 9.
You'll see it anyway.
You're going to see it anyway.
Yeah. Just admit it.
Abrams production.
Yep. This is from an adaptation by Jolkin, Rolkin, Tolkien. I think the rumor doing the rounds is that it's going to be Celebration. That makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, that would be absolutely no surprise to me whatsoever.
It's episode 9's got its own panel. That is also no surprise to me. It's the big release on film this year. Mandalorian will also have a panel, I'm sure. Look for some, I'm going to call the prediction.
There's a Phantom Menace 20th anniversary panel, I think I saw.
Yeah, there's going to be that. Ahmed Best is going to be there.
Ian McDermott's there apparently, which is making some clickbaity people go, I wonder if he'll be on the episode 9 panel.
He is in episode 1, so
exactly.
Yeah, I think also he's quite famous in Star Wars circles, and I don't know that he's done that many celebrations. I think last year. No,
for longest time it just wasn't something he was interested in. I think he's kind of warmed to it as he's done along.
Realise that it doesn't ruin everyone's life.
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. And Ahmed Best is going to be on the episode 1 panel, so that'll be good.
I've met him; he's very nice.
Yeah, it'd be good to watch lots of people who probably gave him a lot of crap in the 90s kind of suck up to him. That'd be fun. But maybe that's their way of mea culpa, and maybe that's fine.
Maybe he'll just get to slap them.
To be honest, I'm torn now because I feel like violence shouldn't be the answer, but at the same time, maybe there are worse things.
I don't agree, but I get it.
Exactly, yeah. I don't think you should do it, but if you are going to do it, here's how I do it. The O.J. Simpson answer. Yeah. Great. Stephen, you've inspired a large volume of discussion on some very deep topics there.
You got me talking about Last Jedi again, so well done.
Yeah, and Star Trek twice. So, nicely done.
I'm going to hunt you down.
I can narrow it down to America.
Okay.
Yeah. That's more than you had.
Would any of us miss it?
What's that?
America.
Oh, it's quite important. My understanding. I dabble in, geography, economics, all that stuff. My understanding is quite important.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. Well, I'll leave them alone.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll just come for you.
Yeah, just for you, Steve. Just for you. So I think we've got enough time for our last question.
I think we do.
It's a beast. And it's from Alan in Australia. We have a lot of
Hello,
Australian
Alan.
listeners. I love
We do.
that. Yeah. I mean, between Alan, Matt, Kigo, there's a fourth, Dave.
I mean, considering how much of it's desert, we're possibly the most popular Star Wars podcast per square mile out there.
I think Steel Wars does pretty well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, deservedly so. He's a very nice bloke. So Alan writes, hello there.
He does. Hello.
Always wanted to do that. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Brad. And if somebody else is with you this week, thanks to you too. Not this week, maybe another time.
Yeah.
This is only the second time that I've written in, not because I'm up myself, but more because of the caliber of the questions that come in from the listener base. Each week, I'm thoroughly entertained by the topics that come up and hearing what your thoughts are on them, and it's easy to feel intimidated. Anyway, my question is an addendum to Matt Keegan's question from 2 weeks ago. In addition to having to change all the saga movie names...
Which was a faff.
Yeah, indeed. It has now come to light, for a reason that I'm not witty enough to come up with, that all the main actors have to be recast.
Know your limits.
Of course, the obvious and most emotionally rewarding choice would be Peter Stormare for every part.
Absolutely.
But alas, he is working on his own series of films about a freakishly tall Amazonian pygmy with a dark past, but a heart of gold, who solves mysteries in his spare time, set during the Roman Empire Trajan's conquest of Dacia in the early 2nd century AD. I think we can all agree, a cinematic masterpiece and a license to print money.
It's a shame, because he would have made an amazing Starkiller base.
Indeed, yeah. So he's given us a list of players from various saga films, and he would like to know who we would cast instead were the original actors to have to be removed by force if necessary.
At the time the film was released, or we're using current time?
I think we have to. I think we have to go for at the time, yeah, because otherwise we're just going to end up with,
That's just fine, just as long as we're consistent.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's good to have a standard. So,
it's us,
Yeah.
it's us. It will just be a sock puppet named Steve by the end.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah.
As long as he sounds like somebody famous.
I'm worried we're just going to end up going, well, X is for poor man's Y, so we'll use those, but we'll see how we go.
There may be some. That may be the case,
Yeah, okay, cool.
All right, so this is the list for episode 1. So the list he's provided us for episode 1 reads as follows.
Okay.
Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan.
Okay.
I'm going to give you the whole list and then we'll go through them one by one.
Okay. Right, yep.
Qui-Gon.
Yes.
Obi-Wan.
Oh, dear.
Padme.
Yes.
Young Anakin.
Anakin.
Palpatine.
Palpatine.
Mace Lefty Windu.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Qui-Gon.
Well, I've always thought that the poor man's Liam Neeson is Gabriel Byrne.
Do you know, I don't dislike that. However, I'm going to keep Gabriel Byrne for later.
Okay, it's a weird choice for Padme, but you do you.
Well, it's 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Gabriel Byrne can play a handmaiden.
Current year, yeah.
If he wants to.
It's not. It's 1999 at the time this is out.
Oh, you're right. Oh, never mind. Forget him.
Yeah.
No, I've got other plans for him. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, let's go for. Let me think on.
Mm-hmm.
You need somebody who's kind of likable enough.
Slightly older, but not.
Yeah.
Slightly older than the main characters, but not old.
Yeah, you want somebody who's kind of passably, I'm guessing Qui-Gon's kind of set late 30s, early 40s.
No, I think that's fair.
Yeah, that seems to be. That's how I kind of,
I'm not looking it up.
No, that's kind of how I'm
looking it up.
That's how I interpret it. I mean, that may be completely off base, but that's how I see it. So let me think. Actors who are kind of old. I realise that's not the criteria I should be using.
Mm-hmm.
But
there is no canon birth date for Qui-Gon. So.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go for... See, the thing is, in my head, I'm fighting my brain at the moment, like it so many times, because in my head, my brain is going, whoa, he seemed to be replaced in action movies with John Travolta. But no, I can't. I can't do it. I can't make John Travolta Qui-Gon Jinn. I can't do it.
That's a hard one.
It's a terrifying thought.
Mm.
He's already got us off to good start here, I think.
Yeah.
Do you know,
you
actually,
can just say Gabriel Byrne as well.
No, it's fine. I've still got plans for Gabriel Byrne.
Okay.
Val Kilmer.
Yes.
Just he's got that sort of affability, you know, like a kiss, kiss, bang, bang.
Slightly cocky,
you know.
Yeah. No, I'm down with that. I quite like Val Kilmer anyway. So
yeah, and at the time he was he could have been aged up a little. It wouldn't have taken much to age him up just a little bit.
That's not that far off. What's that kind of Tombstone? Yeah, it's a few years after Tombstone, maybe. I guess.
I mean, it's 2 years after Batman Forever.
Yeah, okay.
4 years maybe.
It would be a slightly younger Qui-Gon, but I don't think that would necessarily work against it.
No, I think that's okay.
Yeah,
all he's got to be is young enough that Dooku would have trained him.
Yes.
So that could still, I think, work.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm going to go. Yeah, Val Kilmer. That's going to be my pick.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So who's our next character?
Obi-Wan.
Now, do we here go for someone who's a poor man's Ewan McGregor, or do we try and go on a different tack and try and find someone who looks like a young Alec Guinness?
A young poor man's Alec Guinness.
Yeah, young poor man's Alec Guinness.
The obvious choice is Eddie Izzard because he's already
McGregor.
The obvious choice is Eddie Izzard because he's already got the voice down.
Oh, no, man, wouldn't that have just...
Wouldn't
he have been a hell of a Palpatine?
I do clone on me. Oh, look the same. It's kind of the point.
So, yeah. Oh, man. Obi-Wan's tough. He is just so Ewan McGregor now.
This is the trouble, isn't it? So it's really hard. And it's also hard to think of a young 90s, late 90s, young-ish actor who would kind of work in that slightly deferential student type. Leo would work, I think. He was in the running for Anakin, I think, at one point.
I could see that as well.
Yeah, I believe he was in the consideration for Anakin in the sort of Clone Wars Revenge of the Sith era, and that would totally work for me, because
I mean, to be honest, if this ends up being a one-man show, Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm down for that.
He's a tremendously talented actor.
He'd be a wonderful Padme.
He's fantastic. I can't fault him. Yeah. I really can't.
No.
On his acting, I just can't.
No.
Here you go. Here's a twist. Samuel L. Jackson for Obi-Wan.
You know what?
Yep.
Wouldn't have been bad.
No. I think, that's not my serious answer.
Okay, cool.
What was my original answer? Why do I not remember? This is 2 minutes ago.
I don't know. Must be all drug smoke.
Yeah, clearly. Useless. I can trim down the silences, don't worry.
Okay,
not going to force people to listen to our thought process live on pay-per-view. Mainly because this show is free unless you're on Patreon. And then it's only $1.
I said Leo, and you seemed quite happy with that.
Do you know what? In lieu of putting him in as Anakin, who I've got other plans, other plans who can go into that part.
Okay, cool.
Let's go for Leo. Leo for Obi-Wan. That works. Leo and Val Kilmer as your Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. That is a film I would pay to see.
Yeah. I mean, I liked Ewan McGregor, Liam Neeson, but wow.
Yeah, indeed. Padme.
Well, I've
you
always
can't say Keira Knightley.
Even more than Keira Knightley, I've always felt that the poor man's Natalie Portman is Anna Paquin.
Do you know, I was going to say Anna Paquin, because she's about right for that sort of era because of X-Men. X-Men shortly after that.
I know they're both about the same age as me. I know this because I researched it when I was younger. If I had a shot with them, which I haven't.
I mean, we've all researched things like that at some point in our lives, probably in teenage years, it's fair to say. I think Anna Paquin, that was my first thought too. Mm-hmm. Cool, that's unanimous. Moving on.
Cool.
Young Anakin.
I mean, that's tough because he's only going to be
Child
9
actor.
years old at the time.
It's basically Jake Lloyd and Haley Joel Osment, isn't it?
But yeah, this is like child actors. It's hard because anyone who was a 9-year-old child actor at that time is probably in rehab by now.
Unfortunately, that does seem to be a trend.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate one, but nonetheless,
plausible. So I don't know, Lindsay Lohan maybe?
About 4.
All right, I don't know. I haven't carbon dated her.
I don't.
Why would I carbon date Lindsay Lohan?
I don't know.
I wasn't doing that sort of research. I knew she was younger than me.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, and at that point, you don't want to be doing that kind of research.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah.
Even before, Google kept everything about you. That was still a thing. Yeah. On a little side note, I looked at some of my history in Google the other day. It's terrifying. Not in not in a I've committed crimes way, but just in a, I'm amazed at some of the mental things my brain has decided I need to look this up, and the search engine will do. And I mainly learned this while trying to get rid of all mention of Momo off my bloody feed so that I could stop seeing it. Because
remember Momo Kids?
I'd Googled it once just to line up what I'd heard with what the picture was, and found out that it was one I'd already seen before, and then it was it was always popping up because I'd accidentally hit it, and I was just stop it. See,
young Anakin is hard, so I think we're going to have to say Momo.
Oh man, yeah. It's just, who do you see in this role? I'm glad you asked. I see the love child of Shelley Duvall and a plastic chicken. Young Anakin.
It's hard, man. Yeah, I mean, you're limited to Jake Lloyd or Haley Joel Osment.
Do you know what, actually?
Available.
Curveball.
You had to use the other one.
Curveball. Jonathan Lipnicki.
I have no idea who that is, so I'm saying
the little kid from Jerry Maguire. The cute one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, just him. Why not? Yeah. But he has to wear the glasses. And he has to explain them away in canon.
People have glasses in Star Wars?
I don't think they do.
I think Maz Kanata does.
Oh, they're like, the goggly things, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and, fair enough.
The dude from The Thing who's in the Ewok movies, he wears glasses in those.
I think. Not The Thing.
Of course not. That's what a film.
I'm not forgetting The Thing. No, it's just better men than anyone have tried.
Such a good film.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
Palpatine.
Leslie Nielsen.
Gabriel Byrne.
Okay, that works.
Yeah, that's why I've been saving him. Gabriel Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
End of Days era Gabriel Byrne as Palpatine, no less.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah. Okay.
Because older audiences obviously knew him as a very straight,
serious
crime
actor.
And sci-fi serious actor. He's still in my heart. He was a very
great,
good actor.
Yeah, he's great. Loved him.
Whereas younger audiences would know him obviously more for Airplane and Naked Gun, and more of like this lovable comedy figure, which would then lend weight to him befriending Anakin before revealing a darker turn later in the movies. Which
would have, surprised nobody except a few people.
Yeah.
Select few.
She tries her best, man.
Mace Lefty Windu.
Hugh Jackman.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that would work. He's that's good for me. I did have a different one, but I'm going to save him because I have ideas for him elsewhere. Much like a minute ago. There we go. So we've done episode 1. Episode 2 is a shorter list.
Did you have one for Mace Windu?
No, I agree. I think Hugh Jackman's good.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm totally with you. I
had a second choice for. I had a second choice for him, if I may. Kurt Russell.
Oh, yes. You need somebody who's a bit more old and grizzled. And I'm not disputing. I like Samuel L. Jackson fine in those movies.
Yeah.
But you want somebody kind of a little bit. Samuel L. Jackson adds a certain level of grizzledness because he's Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah.
That most actors can't get away with without being a bit older and a bit gruffer. Because like Jeff Bridges can't get away with it for so many reasons without having the big beard and the sort of older persona.
I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
But Mace Windu, Samuel L. Jackson can, I think. So episode 2 is a shorter list.
Fair.
It's 2 items.
Okay.
I'm assuming that we can take the casting from film to film to film.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Episode 2, Count Dooku and Adult Anakin.
Okay, Count Dooku. Yep. Christopher Lee is an absolute hero of mine, completely irreplaceable, but I'm happy to play this farcical parlour game. In the interest of retaining some sort of cosmic balance, James Earl Jones.
Oh, okay. Now, I suppose you don't have to you can use the actors elsewhere, I would guess. I mean, they didn't specify that in the rules, did they?
Well, he's not physically in the movies anyway.
Well, this is true, yeah. So there's that too. Let me think. So I'm gonna do a little bit of Googling here,
Okay.
I just want to establish how old Christopher Lee was in 2002 when the movies were. So he was 80.
I think he was. Was he 80? I was going to say he must have been gone 70. He was an old man.
Yeah. So
the only bit he didn't want to do was running. If you're interested,
that's fair. I mean,
he was happy to do all the stunts and all the sword fighting, but he didn't want to do any of the running because he was too old.
Yeah, that is fair enough. He's an older gent. He was an older gent. He'd done a lot of movies. He'd done plenty of running. People, if they wanted to see it, they could see it.
Just splice it in from another movie. Yeah.
I don't necessarily mean.
Why is he dressed as Dracula? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's just Just don't sweat it. It's fine. It's fine.
It's from a file marked Count D. We just used it.
I'm trying to think of who would have been 80 in the early 2000s who didn't look.
I don't know that.
Because Christopher Lee didn't look 80 in Attack of the Clones, I don't think. No.
Is there anything apart from him being a significantly age older than whoever we picked for Qui-Gon? He doesn't have to be that old.
True. Ian Holm.
Oh, interesting choice.
Yeah. I'm not sure where it's come from either, but it kind of works.
Not the sort of character we've seen him play.
No.
I mean, we've seen him do baddies and we've seen him do absolute psychos, but there's kind of like a refined evil to Dooku, which I have no doubt Ian Holm could do because he's, Ian Holm is a criminally underrated actor.
He's very talented.
I've always said if it wasn't for, it's almost a shame how good Alien is because it overshadows all the constituent elements of Alien overshadow how good he is in that film. He's flawless in that film. He really is.
Yeah, he's great.
A truly great actor. But yeah, I've not seen him do that kind of role before, and now I'm kind of intrigued.
Ooh, I've just had a thought. My brain went from Ian Holm as Ash in Alien to Rutger Hauer as the voice of Ash in the audiobooks, the audio productions they've done of Alien.
Oh, is it him? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's Rutger Hauer.
Okay.
And actually, for Dooku...
Oh, that gives me the horn.
That could be kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick with my original guns on this one and say Ian Holm.
Okay.
Mainly because Rutger Hauer has already had a role off him, as we've just established. So I think it's only fair that Ian Holm have it left to him for a little bit longer before. Maybe if they do episode 2 audiobook after the fact and Ian Holm's not available, maybe you can get Rutger Hauer. But until then,
cool.
I'm going to stick with Ian Holm as my first choice. Adult Anakin.
So when are we looking here? We're looking kind of 2002.
Yep, early 2Ks.
Early 2Ks. Orlando Bloom.
Okay. I was going to say Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah, I mean, if he was he still around in 2002?
I don't know, but it would have been a nice way to bring him back.
Yeah, I enjoyed his 2 movies. I just wish he'd been in more.
The other option is somebody like a Christian Bale.
He was in 2 Batman movies, wasn't he? I forgot.
Yeah.
Three Musketeers and Batman Forever I really liked.
Yeah, Batman Forever's one of the worst movies I've seen a bunch of times.
I like it fine.
Yeah, it's not the best, but I watch it. I'll watch it if it's on, and I'll happily watch it loads because
I remember really liking it as a kid. But I'm the other way around. I remember really liking it, but it's not one I've gone back to.
It dates surprisingly well, but at the same time, not very well.
It's incredibly. It's a bit like Top Gun could only have been made in the 80s. Batman Forever could only have been made in the mid 90s.
Yeah, but that's a good way of putting it. Actually, yeah.
For a product of its time.
Yes. The other option for adult Anakin is somebody like a Christian Bale. Thinking kind of Reign of Fire, era Christian Bale.
It was
around that
post-American Psycho. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So that's episode 2. Did you have an adult Anakin, by the way? Sorry. I don't know if I cut you off there.
I think I did say one, but my brain's just totally farted. And listen back if you care that much.
Yeah. That was a short list for episode 2.
Yeah, okay.
Episode 3, Darth Vader's voice.
In the interest of redressing some sort of cosmic balance, Christopher Lee.
Interesting. Now, here's the trick with this one. This is where I think we're going to have to start loopholing a little bit. Mm-hmm. In order to do episode 3, you need somebody who was around in episode in 1977 to do it fairly.
Oh, I see. Yes. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Fine.
But at the same time, I don't want to do that because it restricts us. So I'm going to say,
I'm quite happy to say Christopher Lee.
Christopher, that's fine. I mean, your one doesn't matter. In terms of, I don't mean it doesn't matter. Obviously, it matters. Yeah. But I mean, in terms of, it makes.
I can just go.
In your case, it makes no odds that loophole being in place.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I'm going to loophole it to 2005 because he hasn't specified that Vader's voice has to persist through this new set of films. I'm going to say Jimon Hunsu.
Okay. Yeah.
So because he's got kind of a cool. He's got like a cool gravelly voice that I reckon through some modulation would sound bloody incredible.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So episode 4, this is where I think we're going to have to start. We might have to start loopholing a bit.
Okay, cool.
Because again, we're going to need people who were in their 20s in the 70s.
In the 20s of the 70s.
Yeah, and it's going to be.
Oh man.
It's going to be trickier than I think.
Yeah, we might have to play a little bit loose with the ages here, I think.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking you could make it from any era, but, we can play fast on this with ages too. That also works.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. Well, yeah.
So
we'll see how we go.
This is the list.
Okay.
Anyway, Luke, Han, Leia, and old Ben.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So Luke. Remember, it's tough.
Yeah, see what I mean? It's like, because... he was young at the time.
There's not many breakout actors around that time of that age, really.
This is it.
Not that immediately leaped to mind. I'm sure there was a couple staring me in the face. But
yeah. It is tough. This is where I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And it is hard as well to think about anybody else in that role but Mark Hamill.
It's very defining. Yeah,
it's career defining. It's if he wasn't lucky in so much as he has a good sense of humor, he's got the right sort of level of self-deprecation. It would have been a career defining film and a career restricting film.
I've just looked up. He would only have been 15 in 1977. So can I play a little bit looser with the time frame here?
Of course.
Carry a whiz.
Ooh, okay. I like that. He's got that kind of... I mean, he does it so well in Robin Hood Men in Tights. He's got that Errol Flynn kind of gaiety to his character and to his actions.
Or Princess Bride, yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, I mean, it totally works.
I mean, Seven, not so much. Not Seven, Saw, not so much. But, yeah,
when did you turn up in that? I've seen that film recently. So I'm trying to think. I am struggling with this one because it is. Do you know what? I'm gonna agree with you and go for carryovers.
Okay, cool.
Han Solo.
It's one I know actually auditioned for him, and it kind of works as Christopher Walken.
I know it. I know he did, but I just can't.
No?
I can't get past the Kevin Spacey impression of him doing Han Solo.
Okay.
And on Saturday Night Live, way back in there.
Yeah.
And just fast.
Robert Englund auditioned for that as well.
He did, yeah. And Pacino, I heard, was in the running as well at one point.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, Pacino would work. I think Englund's another great actor who's made some career choices that I think might have limited him later on, but I think he's sitting in his gold house and not really caring what I think.
No, indeed. It's like people ask him at conventions, do you love that character? And he goes home every day to his house and goes, man, I love that character.
Yeah, totally fair, man.
Yeah.
It's the sort of business where someone offers you the money, you take it.
I love that beer.
Yeah. Yeah, but him as Han Solo, I can see it working.
I think we've already used Kurt Russell, unfortunately.
Oh, man, that would have worked so well.
Yeah, and I feel like he's somebody who was in the running at some point.
You know, now you've said that, that's job something, yes.
Yeah, it's a tricky one to count.
I think it's one of those everyone who was an actor in the postcode at the time read for it, which is why you get all these people
maybe, yeah,
down for it.
I know it wasn't a massively well-known franchise at that point, obviously, but I think it was probably one where it's like, oh, it's a steady part in a decent-sized film. Makes sense that people would be interested, I guess.
Yeah. But plus also, I think part of it is you do, as an actor, you do just auditions are just part of a job, and you go for whatever your agent tells you to go to. Possibly even because if it's not a part you're particularly interested, you're going to get it's like a job interview. You're in the agency's mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they go, well, he didn't work for him, but thinking about it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Let's think. For Han, I say with Walken, I can't get past the send up that Kevin Spacey did for him on Saturday Night Live way back when.
Remember him, kids? Poor choice of words.
As long as we take that, as long as there's no follow up to that, then it's fine. I'm trying to think of anybody else who would work in that role.
Okay.
Who we haven't already covered. I'm not really coming up with anything.
Okay.
Tom Selleck?
Yeah, totally. I'd be down for that.
I like him as instead of you just get rid of the whole here's a Wookiee thing and just have Chewie as Tom Selleck. Doesn't that just make it a better film in your mind?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Oh, man, it does.
Yeah.
Especially if he had the same dialogue.
Two men in a spaceship.
Especially if all of Tom Selleck's dialogue was just...
Yeah, sure. All right. Yeah, all right, sure. Leia. Another one that's tricky.
Again,
yeah.
Man, that's hard. It is
really hard.
Oh.
Jodie Foster?
I mean...
She would work. She's got that kind of...
About the same age.
She's got that kind of spunkiness to her kind of personality that I think would probably translate to Carrie Fisher levels of...
My brain just went, who's the girl in Blues Brothers, followed by you carking moron?
Oh, dear. Yeah, Jodie Foster's my pick.
That's going to be hard to top, actually. Yeah, I don't have any better than that, actually.
No,
it's the age is important, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then old Ben. Who did we have for Obi-Wan?
For Obi-Wan?
Leo, right?
Who
looks like old Leo? From the 70s. Well, it helps.
Rutger Hauer.
He does. It
would be a great old Obi-Wan. If I was allowed to be more independent, because he doesn't look anything like.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's assume they're made in production order, and actually it doesn't.
This wouldn't sync up at all for reasons that are going to become obvious.
Okay.
Sidney Poitier would have been amazing.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
It has canon problems if it's got to be Leonardo DiCaprio, but Sidney Poitier as old Obi-Wan would be amazing.
You got some splaining to do. No, that's a really good shout, actually. Yeah. He's got that kind of old, that classic kind of old thespian chops.
He has, but if you take something in the heat of the night, there's like a steel core to his character as well, which is what Obi-Wan has.
Yeah, that's a good call, actually. I don't know if I can top that, so I'm not going to try.
Okay, cool. I wish more people would say that to me.
It'd be a less crowded marketplace, I would guess, for your published works. Yeah, you got one out. Never mind.
Yeah.
Forget it. Look
at me, I wrote a book.
I think you wrote 4. So then that's episode 4. That's all the ones done. Episode 5, we have one name.
Boba Fett.
The name is Lando.
Oh, all right. 1980.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in the kind of black and mustachio department, there's Carl Weathers.
Carl Weathers was my first reflex as well. And actually, I think he would still work. And you could go for that. You could, if you wanted to go back and recast Han Solo with Schwarzenegger, you could recreate that fantastic bit from Predator 2 years before it happened.
Yeah. But, guys, I want you to realise that as you're picturing that happening on the Red Cow City, bear in mind that standing directly behind Arnie is Tom Selleck. And
behind Carl Weathers is Lobot.
Yeah.
Calrissian, USOB.
You still hanging around this guy, Tom Selleck?
Failing Carl Weathers, as I often do.
That's so funny.
I don't know. Failing that, actually, I think somebody like Steve Guttenberg could work.
Oh, okay, he's little. Yeah, I get it.
Or even like a Woody Allen.
Oh, man.
You'd have to do the character slightly differently.
Woody Allen is someone from Han Solo's past. Does that work?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. This is the thing. It's kind of. I realize that as I say it, you have to make a lot of changes to that character. Because he can't be a kind of charming riverboat gambler type character. Yeah, he has to be a bit more of a
spins you can take on.
Business type kind of Weasley character.
Yeah, you kind of have to ignore the performance and look at the character as written.
Yeah, and this is the tricky bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, Steve Guttenberg is kind of one that just pops into my head from that sort of era.
Round about the same time, yeah.
Yeah, but Carl Weathers was my first reflex too.
Yeah, because he'd have done Rocky by then, surely.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Rocky must have been late 70s, surely.
I would think so. And if not, it's very, very close.
Yeah, around the same time. Yeah.
Okay. Episode 6. So Alan's gone for a slightly, interesting take here.
Boba Fett.
Can't really include Jabba, and there's no new major players. So I don't know. The Rancor trainer? Anthony Hopkins.
I mean, that would certainly lend some gravitas to the role, I guess.
That's kind of why I want to do it. I want this. Yeah. I want this. Is
Charlton Heston.
Is that Anthony Hopkins? Why doesn't he have a bigger part in this? It seems like he seems like the most famous person here.
Is that Laurence Olivier with his shirt off,
crying about that giant Rancor? I just kind of want. I haven't come up with anything suitably ridiculous to kind of to make the monkey stop scratching. To make the monkey stop digging into my back. So I just thought I'd throw one into the mix, just to ease off the pressure a little bit on myself.
Okay.
There. But yeah, Anthony Hopkins just for a 10-second cameo, but it just what? Really? Is that just okay?
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, having said that, at this point, was he more of a stage actor up until that point, or had he done at 83? He hadn't done Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs was his breakout role, but I never say he must have been working before then.
Yeah, you'd assume so, right? But I can't think of anything where he's like I can't think of anything career defining from before Silence of the Lambs. I'm struggling.
No, he may have just been in the stage of. I'm not familiar enough with his earlier work to comment. I'm afraid, Anthony, if you're listening, and we know people like Anthony do, then please. Yeah, we have a lot of people named Anthony who listen. So
absolutely. Yeah, in fact, we do.
Write in, let us know. Yeah. Let us know. Would you have been up for playing the Rancor trainer?
I think he would have.
Yeah.
Episode 7. So this is a much longer list.
Yes.
Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo, and possibly Snoke, although he does point out that as it's mocap, is there much point?
Okay.
So we'll start with Rey.
Okay.
What you got?
So is it 2025, I guess?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Ellen Page is probably too old.
Ellen Page is probably slightly too old. But I think she could still pull it off. She's got quite a youthful look to her.
Yeah.
So I think she could probably still pull it.
Yeah,
I think she could still probably pull it off. She's quite,
Anna Kendrick's around the same age, but just something about that doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't quite gel with that one. I would gel more with Emma Stone, but not by much. Do you know what I mean? Like she would kind of work for me, but only just enough, and it would be very much like Emma Stone, fine.
Yeah. Was Hayley Steinfeld been in the film for the past couple of weeks? If not, she might need casting in something.
At that point, I think she hadn't. No.
Okay. She might be too young, actually. She might be about 15 then.
Yeah,
I don't have no idea how old Hayley Steinfeld is.
No, likewise. I think she's mid-20s maybe now. So, yeah.
Maybe about the same age then.
Maybe, yeah. And like you say, she has that monkey on her back.
Does she have to be British, though?
No.
Okay.
But, ultimately, we've race-swapped people.
Yeah, that's fine.
So there's no reason why we can't, nationality swap, certainly.
Yeah, okay.
Seems quite tame in comparison.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, it's fantasy casting, and, all bets are off.
There was nothing saying.
No, you must respect the original.
Nothing saying Mace Windu has to be
black,
African American. There's nothing saying that Obi-Wan has to be white. It doesn't.
Yeah.
No, it's not relevant.
No.
I haven't got anyone of you yet. Flavor Flav.
For Ray?
Yeah.
I mean, this is where we could add Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah. Okay.
For Ray, like I say, the only one that springs to mind is Emma Stone. By that point, I think she'd only really done Superbad.
She might be about 10 years older than Daisy Ridley, though.
I think she is. I think she's kind of in the ballpark.
Hayley Atwell?
That might work.
I mean, I could watch her do her taxes. So.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that very well. I'm going to go Emma Stone for this. I've got nothing.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that then as well.
Finn.
Sorry, Hayley. Still love you. Finn's...
I got one.
Okay.
Taron Egerton from Kingsman.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's... Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of... Yeah. It's trying to pick young actors about that age.
That's the trick, isn't it? It's not that. It sounds like the kind of thing. It's like, oh yeah, you could go for, and then you think
Kit Harington.
Okay, to compound it as well, a lot of these actors are either first timers or young, actors with not a lot of large body work. I mean, like John Boyega, I only really know from Attack the Block, and he's great in it.
Yeah,
but
actually, going off the Game of Thrones thing, how about Maisie Williams for Ray?
She might work. She's got that kind of, again, that sort of youthful exuberance.
She's probably about the same age, yeah.
Yeah, I would say you're probably right there, yeah. And actually, you've just popped an idea into my head for one of the ones in the later list, so that's good.
Okay, cool. That's good to know.
Yeah. For Finn, I'm going to say Taron Egerton from Kingsman, because I think he's great.
Yep.
Poe.
A piece of cardboard with some eyes drawn on it.
With an angry face.
Not a fan of that character.
No?
Okay. He's fine. He's Maverick in space.
Yeah, he's fine,
I'm just being facetious.
I know. It's fine. I'm sure everybody picks up on that. It's okay.
Chris Evans.
Yeah, I think that would work. I was going to say Christian Bale if we hadn't already used him.
The old, maybe a little old.
Slightly old. Yeah, he might be slightly on the older side, but I think maybe you want somebody who's that kind of a bit more grizzled.
Yeah,
maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, Chris Pratt seems like a no-brainer.
Kind of cocky and fresh face, isn't he? That's kind of the appeal of him, I guess.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, Justin Bieber, like he's got that same kind of cockiness and fresh-facedness.
He does.
He's very fresh of face, in fact.
Yeah.
I don't mean that seriously. I mean, he is, but I don't mean he's not my pick. That's what I mean.
Fair.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of another actor who would work in that kind of...
It's tough because I think Oscar Isaac's kind of nailed it.
He's done he's done a great job. And somebody like Alden Ehrenreich would work if he wasn't already playing young Han, which we haven't recast for this.
Yes. Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Sorry?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh, okay.
He might work, I think. He might be a little on the older side, but I think he could probably still pull off the...
I can see that.
I can think he can make it work, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
And he's done a film with Joel Edgerton, so pretty sure I'm pretty sure Joel Edgerton's in Kinky Boots. So
I have no idea.
I'm pretty sure that's him. I'm fairly sure. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I'm pretty sure it's him.
Mm-hmm.
Kylo. I'm going to go for Nikolai Coster-Waldau. He's a little on the older side.
A little old, but I can see why you would go for that.
Yeah. But, I mean, again, that's mainly because I watch him do his taxes. But I don't know. He just seems like the kind of guy who might make it fun.
If I was allowed to time bend, I'd say a younger Eric Bana. But...
Oh, that's a good shout. That would, yeah. I see what you mean. I can totally see why you went for that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I have to acknowledge that Nikolai Coster-Waldau would require a bit of a time bend as well on my part.
That's right. We could just say that Leia got pregnant very quickly after the Battle of Endor.
Yeah, almost backwards in time. Yeah,
on the way back from a sail barge is what we're talking.
Yeah, I say I'm struggling with, which is weird, right? Because this is the recent era. You'd think this would be the easiest bit, but
yeah, I think it's because Oscar Isaac has very much nailed it.
He's nailed the Poe Dameron, yeah, and then the Kylo Ren,
Nicholas Hoult.
Okay,
because there's literally nothing that man can't play.
Yeah, I would say that's fair to say. Yeah, he's very, very good. Right. Tom Hardy is Kylo. Might be maybe a little old.
Again, a little old, but yeah, sure.
Conceivably in the realms of possibility, I think.
Yes, I'll go with that.
Tom Holland. Maybe too young.
Maybe too much of a friendly face, but at the same time, that could be used to subvert expectations. And I kind of really did that with Leslie Nielsen, so that's kind of fine.
Yeah. Well, yeah, him as Kylo would be ludicrous.
You watch the hell out of it, and you know it.
I would.
Yeah.
If only to see how he would pull it off, but I feel I have faith.
Mel, do the Schwartz Awakens, please.
Yeah, for real. Possibly Snoke, but since there's motion cap, is there a point? Yes, there is.
Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage. Mocapping.
His voice is amazing.
Oh, right, okay. So you'd mocap the same way.
I'm happy for him to be mocapped, but I also understand there may be logistical problems there.
Yeah, I can see that.
But his voice, Peter Dinklage's voice is amazing.
Yeah, he does have a fantastic voice. It's a shame that he gets maligned for his voice acting performance in Destiny, because I feel like it's not his fault that the lines lack emphasis. It's the fault of no context. And he's a robot.
That's poor direction.
He literally is playing a robot. How enthusiastic do you need a robot to be? Like, it's a robot. It cannot feel emotion. Yeah. It's not, that's not how robots work. It's not how any of this works. So yeah, I feel a little bad for him in that respect, because, like I say, I think he actually did. It was one of those things where when people started complaining about it and they started talking about, they're gonna recast him, I was like, why? He's fine. There's nothing wrong. Yeah, that's not the problem I have with that game at all. It's it's the fact it's grindy and you have to keep going back to the same 5 maps all the time. It's nothing to do with Peter Dinklage. In fact, I would go as far as to say, confidently predict, he had no say in that at all.
No, I don't believe he was in for Grand 4.
Because I feel like if he did, we would have got a more fun game out of it.
Yeah.
Just my hunch. I mean, I may be wrong. I'm happy to be, if somebody can demonstrate to me that Peter Dinklage has no knowledge of how to create fun video games, then fair. But I just have faith in the guy.
Peter, if you're listening, we know believe it or not. Then write in and tell us, do you think Anthony Hopkins should play with Rancor trainer?
Yeah, and while you're there, I've got more questions. John Hurt for Snoke.
Yes.
He's got another one.
Well,
his voice is different, but equally...
Different take, but very powerful actor.
Yeah, and he's still got that kind of quiet malevolence that Snoke would do well from, I should say.
Yeah.
I think. That's kind of my sense. That was the first one that sort of jumped into my head. I mean, Benedict is an obvious one because he has one of those voices that modulates very well.
Yes, yeah, very strong vocal actor.
I think he would have had to dip back into the Smaug bucket, and I think that would just end up sounding like a poor man's Smaug. I
think you're probably right. I think might be a bit too close to a part he'd just done, yeah.
Yeah. But I think, like I say, I don't think he's by any means incapable of doing it. I think he'd have done a bang-up job, but I think having already done Smaug, he's good there. He can stay there. Mm-hmm. Episode 8, Rose and Holdo.
A piece of cardboard with some eyes drawn on it.
Happy eyes, though, this one. Happy expression.
And a piece of cardboard with some eyes drawn on it.
But with purple hair.
Yeah.
Lest we forget.
Rose.
I'm almost... Sorry, go on.
It's that actors around that age. I'm not really sure how old Rose is. Mid-20s, I guess.
Mid-20s sounds right, yeah. I can believe that. That's the impression I get, certainly.
Yeah.
It's... Gemma Chan's quite good.
That's not a bad shout, actually.
Yeah, she would work, I think. And obviously, she's in Marvel now, but she wasn't at the time, so that would totally work, I think.
Yeah.
Annoyingly, for Holdo, I sort of annoyed myself for using Jodie Foster already.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
Oh, might use Anthony Hopkins again.
Let's reunite some Jurassic Park castmates and put Sam Neill in there.
Yeah.
Let's do a Jurassic Park callback and just put Sam Neill as Holdo.
I mean is there anything saying Holdo has to be female? There isn't. So.
Yeah, again, let's say we've already swapped things around.
No, sorry, I was just thinking aloud. No, I mean that kind of worked for me because in my fantasy EU cast, Sam Neill was gone Beliebless.
Yeah, well, there you go. So it's almost like that kind of archetype again, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's say if you're going to go, anybody is, nobody's off limits, then actually Sam Neill kind of works.
Yeah.
I said it as a joke initially, but actually the more I think about it, I would watch that.
He's much older than you think.
Yeah.
How old is he?
106.
106.
Yeah, give or take.
Can you look up for me? So, he is a lot older than you think.
Yeah, I'm going to do it now. Sam Neill, Electric Blue Man himself. He is 71.
Yeah, older than you think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I only realised it was like just thinking to myself, and I was thinking, if they were going to do a Magneto movie,
he would work.
He would be ideal casting between Fassbender and McKellen. Then I looked it up, and he's not actually that far off how old McKellen is.
No, exactly. This is it.
It's just hard to believe. But
yeah, let's say for the sake of argument, if we had to cast a female Holdo, it still has to be female.
Yeah.
Who would you go for? I've got one you're going to like, actually, I think.
Kirsten Dunst.
Okay. Do you need somebody?
She needs some work.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, my only thing with Kirsten Dunst is she's very good, but in the Spider-Man movies, I can't help but feel like she looks like she needs a little sleep. She always seems to look a little bit like she's not quite caught up.
Well, if you want someone who looks like they're tired, and Susan Sarandon works for Holdo.
Yeah. I was thinking Linda Hamilton.
Also works, yeah. I mean, I'd rather Linda Hamilton turn up in a significant role, but...
Well, I mean, Holdo's relatively significant, but she's more of a plot advancement role, isn't she? She's like what wrestlers would call an enhancement talent.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not going to have another conversation about the Holdo either.
No, that's fine. That's not why I bring it up. Ultimately, purely it's purely for the.
Was that all for new characters? Have we just completely skipped over Hux?
Yeah, we skipped over. Well, Alan adds at the end, if I've missed anybody or you want to add anybody yourselves, go for it. We already added Chewbacca in as Tom Selleck.
Yeah. Oh, did we? Oh, sorry, my PDA's died, so I was just going on your guidance.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
we're not doing the spin-offs.
No, it's just Saga, because the original question was about Saga.
Yeah, Hux is
tricky, isn't he?
Oh man, actually, imagine Daniel Radcliffe as Hux.
Oh, that would be good. And do you know, actually, he wouldn't work terribly as Poe.
Oh man,
there's a sketch of him on Saturday Night Live where he plays a washed-up Harry Potter.
Yeah,
who's basically just hanging around, living off past glories. And that, mixed with a bit of swagger, would actually kind of work quite well, especially in episode 8.
Okay.
The trouble is now we need a new Hux, because I've just nicked him. Just like that.
Andy Hopkins? What are you looking after a Rancor 30 years ago?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I knew a guy who knew a guy.
Is there any from the spin-off movies you would like to suggest alternate casting for?
No. I mean, let's say the original question was Saga only.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'd kind of like to have seen... I was about to say Michael J. White as Chirrut Imwe, but that would kind of work because, he's got the martial arts background.
Totally.
But I think Michael J. White works better as just a martial arts guy or a comedy guy. Or, I'm not saying not just, because Black Dynamite sees him doing both and to great effect.
Yeah.
And, I love that film very dearly because it's superb.
Yeah.
But, yeah... Baze Malbus, Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Can you imagine?
Yes, very easily. Yeah. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
It would be a much wormier and slimier take on a more pathetic take on the character. And much as I love Ben Mendelsohn, can you imagine Steve Coogan as Krennic?
Oh, that's quite impressive, actually. That works quite well. That works surprisingly well.
Yeah.
And then...
Because in the first Percy Jackson movie, he's the bad guy and he's taking himself very seriously, and it's impossible to take him seriously because he's Alan Partridge.
Yeah.
But if he was to be that... Imagine that kind of wormy side of Alan Partridge without the comedy as Krennic.
Oh, that actually works really well. I can totally see that.
To the point where you'd almost side with Tarkin over him.
Yeah, because you kind of, in Rogue One, you're kind of meant to side with Krennic because he's kind of been, they're all wrong-uns, right? So we established this, but they're all kind of, Krennic is meant to be painted as the one who was kind of stitched up and passed over and all that.
Yeah.
He's the sympathetic figure out of the, over bureaucratic genocidal, fascistic dictators.
I saw someone online describe an alternate title for Rogue One as being Orson's really bad day, and I lost my sis.
Yeah, that's it's pretty appropriate.
Yeah.
You could go for Felicity Jones. Maybe is she a bit old for Rey?
Yeah, by about 10 years, I think Felicity Jones looks younger than she is.
Mm. Yeah, she's got one of those faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then
she used to be in the Archers,
Did she really?
Yes, one of the first things she did, yeah.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
See? Another TSW where I plug the Archers. Don't ask me why, but it's become a thing.
Yeah, well, the more you know and all that.
Yeah.
Any others you want to append?
Oh, man.
C-3PO, voiced by Al Pacino.
Oh, is it like that? Yeah.
Oh. So,
I've been busted another day, and they're saying scrap. I can't do Al Pacino. I've just discovered it. It sounds like my teeth fell out.
That's all I get out of the day. You decided scrap pile.
That was what I was going for.
Yeah,
but it ended up sounding like Spike from a Tom and Jerry cartoon, and I did it.
No more adventures. I'm not going that way. Do you know what I used to love? Yeah, you know what I used to love when I was younger? You know when they do Comic-Cons and they get fantastic voice actors like John DiMaggio and Rob Paulson, and various different voice actors from over the years, and they get them to do live reads of famous movies.
Yeah.
I devoured those when I was younger. And I've always, it's just one of those things I'd love to be able to have the imagination to drum
Winnie
up
the
enough
Pooh's Darth Vader sticks in my mind.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It's just, I love those.
Yeah. Narrated by Batman. Brilliant.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, Alan ends with, if I've missed anybody, you want to add anybody yourselves, go for it. You could also add in Chewbacca and C-3PO if you wanted to. Thanks again, guys. I look forward to hearing your thoughts.
Peter Stormare is for Selleck.
No, we've said we can't have Peter Stormare. We've said this.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah.
There's no one close to Peter Stormare we could substitute for Peter Stormare.
No, he's very much...
I guess it's just...
a product of his time.
Stellan Skarsgård's the nearest, I guess.
Kind of, yeah.
Who would make quite a fantastic Galen Erso.
He would. Very much so, in fact, yeah. But are you recasting Peter Stormare
as
in this example?
Did I just I don't know if that's even feasible. I feel dirty.
This is a weird fourth wall problem. I have issues.
Yeah.
I have issues. I have questions here. Yeah. I don't know what to think, and it's all kind of closing in around me. Tarkin. No shit. This is not my serious answer.
Okay.
But for some reason, Norm Macdonald just popped into my head, and I can't not think about how amazing he would be.
Yeah.
As Tarkin, just
Wayne Knight. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't quite work, but at the same time, it's quite funny to think about.
Yeah.
Trying to think, Tarkin. So we're talking. Actually, we've got to go.
You know who would have been a damn sexy Lando in Empire?
Damn sexy Tarkin.
You know who would have been a damn sexy Lando in Empire? Tim Curry.
Oh yes. Do you know what? And he could still pull off the riverboat thing.
Yeah,
he could still pull off that charming gambler.
He really can.
Yeah, he would. He would totally work. Because actually, did you ever see the series Lex?
No.
Okay,
no,
so it was a sci-fi series, as in Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah.
And it was one of those ones where the story was not fantastic, but they got around it by a little bit of nudity and some, goth-looking characters.
Okay.
Who always went down well in the sort of late 90s, early 2000s.
It did.
But they had an episode where Tim Curry was in it as a side character, and he had that kind of very overly friendly kind of a bit slimy and a bit uncomfortable, creepy kind of thing. If he dialed that back, that would work.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like the first half of Frankenfurter, I guess, really.
Yeah, pretty much. It sort of works.
That's what charming underclothes you both have.
Yeah, it sort of works very well in that respect, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I can totally see that. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. Any others?
Oh, man, as soon as you start wrapping up, I'll probably shout like 20 more out, because...
R2-D2, voiced by Bobcat Goldthwait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just a bobcat.
Or a bobcat, yeah, that would work.
Yeah. Just picture this movie we've made, which does now consist of Al Pacino shouting at a bobcat in the desert.
Oh, a transport. Adventure this way. Greedo? Really?
I don't know. I don't mean. Sort of, see if I can.
All right.
Boba Fett. Did we do anyone for Boba Fett?
No, we didn't. It wasn't in the list, and it can be anybody.
It is a bloke in a suit, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I love you, Jeremy.
Burt Reynolds.
Yeah, or Dom DeLuise.
I feel like if they'd had Jabba played by a human, and not like not like a sort of a big fat human, but just played by a human, Dom DeLuise would have made an amazing Jabba the Hutt.
He played Pizza the Hutt in Spaceballs.
This is it, and he was also in the Don in Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah, I've just remembered Tim Curry is actually in Star Wars as well, so I'm not sure if I'm.
Oh, hang on, where does he appear?
He played Palpatine between in Clone Wars between I've forgotten the actor's name, unfortunately. The guy who played Palpatine for most of Clone Wars passed away, and Tim Curry filled in for the final series of Clone Wars before being replaced by Sam Witwer in Rebels.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's okay.
Yeah, okay, fine. Tim, if you're listening, and we've no reason to believe you're not,
well, there you go.
Then write in and tell us if you'd like to play the Rancor Keeper.
This is what we want to know from everybody at Cena this week.
How amazing would it be if we got an email from Tim Curry, though?
It would be great. Especially as, like, I was all over that second audition for the Rancor Keeper. Unfortunately, scheduling conflicts, you know.
With Clue.
That's good. Yeah, with Clue or Legend, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, he made a good choice, I think.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, I mean, ultimately, it frees up the role for Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. And now Dryden Voss, he could have done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim Curry should have been Star Wars by now, is what we're saying.
Yeah, exactly. You know, ultimately, it's a shame that he's not in the saga on screen, proper stuff.
Yeah.
You know, not to belittle the.
We know what you mean.
Yeah,
we know what you mean. Maybe he'll be in episode 9. We don't.
Maybe. Who knows? Although, I mean, did you read, incidentally, just as a quick aside about episode 9, did you read that apparently Matt Smith he reckons he's not in it?
Yeah, he's said that, but he's also said very similar things around Terminator Genesis as well. So
really,
yeah,
seems like an odd move because didn't he play somebody?
Yeah,
quite
but
important?
he kind of played his cards close to his chest for a long time.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So it might just be a game he plays.
Maybe, yeah. It does seem like an odd game to play because, you know.
Or maybe he was in 9 and the scenes have ended up being cut.
That's the other thing I was wondering is either he's underneath a mask and doesn't know where he is, as in like he might play one of a series of troopers, like Daniel Craig or Kevin Smith. Maybe something like that. Or, like you say, he may have been in the scene that got cut, in which case he might be in the, you know, the Abrams cut, which will no doubt never appear.
No.
Because, you know, I don't think he's ever done those sort of things.
He certainly, at the time Force Awakens was in Roundup being released, people were saying, are we going to get a extended edition like the Middle-earth movies got? Are we going to get a special edition? He said no. He said the final film is the final film.
Yeah,
so,
I prefer it that way.
Yeah, it's the same.
I get it with Lord of the Rings because it's an adaptation as well, which kind of adds complexity to the job.
I got it more with Lord of the Rings. Also, was very much a timing thing when DVD was a relatively new medium, and it was the first time you could do something like that.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Generally, I do think the extended versions of that are better. I
don't think I've watched the extendeds.
Mm-hmm. No, extended Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I've seen them all. Yeah. Yeah,
no, extended Lord of the Rings are outstanding. Extended Hobbits.
Okay.
I've only done a theatrical cut. I'm not a huge fan of Hobbit movies.
No, I thought they're okay. I should clarify, I haven't done the extended cut of any of them. I've done the theatrical cut of everything.
Yeah, so you have seen the extended Lord of the Rings, sorry.
No, I haven't seen them. I've got them. I haven't seen them.
Oh, okay. No, well worth it. I think the extended Lord of the Rings are significantly better films for the extra footage.
Fair enough.
I've only done a theatrical cut as well because I wasn't particularly taken with them.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
The best way I can put it is the Lord of the Rings movies for me, I love with occasional little bits that bug me.
Right.
The Hobbit movies were mostly things that bugged me with occasional little bits I liked. Okay,
yeah, I can see that. Just like a flip of, you know, subversion of expectations.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
that must be it.
I'm more a Lord of the Rings fan than a Hobbit fan when it comes to books, anyway. So it probably didn't help.
Fair. Yeah. Anyway, Alan, thank you for writing in. Hopefully, you got a good kick out of that because I've surely enjoyed flexing the old grey matter. Sorry that unfortunately it's in atrophy in my case because I can't seem to think of much in the way of good picks, but hopefully you like the ones I've chosen, and you know, hopefully our picks have met with your approval.
Mm-hmm.
And listeners out there in listener land, what do you think? Are there really obvious ones that we've missed? You know, something really glaringly that we're going to go, oh man, probably. Let us know.
Probably, yeah.
Podcast at emotionally14.com is the place to send everything. We've done it for a few weeks now. It definitely works. So I'm pretty comfortable saying this, that podcast at Emotionally14 is the best place to send listener email. The old Talk Star Wars info Gmail does still work, but the best place is podcast at Emotionally14.com.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Talk Star Wars for this week. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you out there in listener land for listening to us as well. If you've enjoyed the show and this is your first episode, there are two things that I recommend you do, one of which is absolutely essential and one of which is just very much appreciated and up to you. The first one is to like and subscribe on all the good podcasting platforms. We are on all of them, to my knowledge. If we're not, let me know. I can address this, but I need to know. So if you're sitting there going, oh, well, he says that, but you're not on Podgangler every week, then let me know, and Podgangler can feel my wrath, and I will just throw my weight around and point out how big we are in Uganda and Kazakhstan and see how far that gets us. My bet, not very. The second thing, which is an optional, and very much only if you really love the show and you want to support what we do, patreon.com/talkstarwars is where we run our Patreon. And in exchange for just $1 a month, which is 25 cents a week-ish, depending on how many weeks are in the month, 20 to 25, no more than a quarter.
Bargain.
Yeah, exactly. You get early access, ad-free to the main show. It drops on a Saturday morning in the UK instead of a Monday morning. And you also get a week early access to any additional shows that we produce, like the TSW Roundtable or TSW Comics. Mm-hmm. You get those a week early, and they're also ad-free. And actually, in the run-up to Celebration, that's going to be worth having. I'll just say that. I've already spoken to Rob Cast. He's got some cool stuff planned in the next couple of weeks. So, a good place to get ahead of the game on that one is patreon.com/talkstarwars. Mm-hmm. So that's where you can go and you can decide whether it's for you or not. And if it is, then great, welcome aboard. And if not, then the show will be free with ads on other platforms. Brad, if people want to interact with you on social media, where might they best do that?
Well, first of all, I would say Bill Murray as Dryden Voss. Then I'd say you can add me on Facebook at facebook.com/Brad Harmer Barnes, and you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at RealBradHB, and you can, of course, buy all 4 of my books from Amazon.
Yes, you can. And actually, there are nice, handy little links on Emotionally14.com in the Team E14 page. And there are links also in the show notes of Talk Star Wars, which appear on the E14 post on a Monday morning. So if you want to get Brad's books, that's the place to do so.
Please do.
Yeah, indeed. I can certainly vouch for the quality of them. So, and hopefully they take my opinion seriously, because otherwise I'm not really sure what they're doing here. But I can be found on social media at Rob Wade Vision on Twitter and Instagram. I'm also the face behind the space at Talk Star Wars and at Emotionally14 on Twitter and Instagram. Emotionally14.com is where this show resides now. It has been some time, and it is still the case, and more so now than it's ever been. Emotionally14.com is also the place where you can find lots of other wonderful podcasts, YouTube shows, including Fire When Ready, which is a tabletop show featuring Brad and his father.
Yep.
And other guests.
Sometimes you.
Sometimes me. It's been known. As there's also HeroClix UK. So if you like tabletop games, video games, Star Wars, movies of other kinds, there's stuff for you on Emotionally14, no matter what you're into that's geek related. Emotionally14.com is the place to find it all. And I would be remiss if I did not mention the wonderful folks who join us on the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. So I'm going to list them for you right now.
I think you should.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
So in addition to Talk Star Wars, which, obviously I'd love to say is best one, but we're in stellar company either way. You can also find the Tumbling Saber, Generation X-Wing, the Nerd Room, the Rogue Squadron podcast, the San Diego Sabres radio podcast, the Tatooine Suns, the Retro Inc. podcast, and the Sandcrawler cast with Dan and Mike. All of those wonderful shows are available on StarWarsCommonwealth.com, where you can take your first steps into a larger world. Thank you very much for listening to Talk Star Wars episode 160 this week. We will see you next week for episode 161. Look after yourselves, and in the meantime, as always, may the Force be with you.
Bill Paxton as Beckett.
Yes.